Welcome to Post in Black, everyone. My name is David Hunter Jr., and we are so excited to have you for another episode as we celebrate Black excellence behind the lens. Today's episode is a very, very special episode because we have with us none other than PreShus Lee. PreShus Lee is an editor, but she is also the editor of Post in Black, all of the episodes that you guys watch, all the episodes that you're listening to. She is actually behind the scenes putting things together and has made this season a tremendous season that we will remember for a long time. So thank you for tuning in. PreShus Lee wanted to be a doctor when she was younger, but we thank God that she is kind of coming to this lane as editing. She's born in Bellflower, California, and raised in Jersey City, New Jersey. A short documentary, Chapter 32, was an official selection at the Haiti Heritage Film Festival and the Toronto International Women's Film Festival as well. As I mentioned, she's the editor of Post in Black, and we thank you, PreShus, for joining us today.
Hello.
Oh, it is amazing to see you. And obviously, I know you, but we're going to have everybody else get to know you a little bit today as well. So before we start our interview, we want to jump right in with an icebreaker to kind of warm it up a little bit. And your icebreaker is going to come on the bottom of your screen here for you, just in case you didn't know what it was. All right. Are you ready? If you could time travel, would you go back in time to meet your ancestors or forward in time to meet your descendants?
Wow. I actually saw this on my timeline a couple of days ago on Facebook. I was wondering how I would answer this. It's a toss-up.
Yeah.
Do you want to go back? Do you want to go forward? I think I usually don't like going backwards, but in this instance, I think I would. Right. I think it would be beneficial to me as a person to really look back and get a chance to speak to those who poured into me in a way they didn't even know was possible. Right. And for them to see the fruits of their labors, like through me, I think that would be really good. As far as the future, I'll let that stay hidden and unknown and just focus on my ancestors.
Yeah. If you handle what you're supposed to handle now, the future's going to be bright. So you ain't got to worry about them. But going back, I think you hit on something, and I know it wasn't about me, but answering that question as well, I think going back with the mindset that you have now and being able to have that context and talk to all the people in the past, see what they're doing, see what made them make their decisions. I think that's really powerful, powerful. Now, you talk about your descendants. Welcome to Post in Black. Tell the people a little bit about you, because obviously you are the editor of Post in Black. You're the editor, the magician behind everything that we do here. Tell the people a little bit more about yourself and where you're from and how you even got into post-production.
Well, thank you for the intro, because you did a great job.
I was trying. I was stumbling a bit, but I was trying.
Yes, as you mentioned, yes, I was born in California, Bellflower. A lot of people don't know that area of California. It's down by Long Beach.
Yeah.
In that area. Grew up in Jersey City. Raised. Actually went to Hampton University freshman year of college. Yes, Onyx 7.
Cool. Yeah.
Right. Fun fact. So when I was little, I had a pediatrician who was just like the best. I smiled every time I saw him. And usually kids do not smile when they have to go to the doctor. Like you're dreading a shot or something. And he just made me want to be that for other kids. And I couldn't say pediatrician back then. So I would say, I want to be a child doctor. I want to be a child doctor. And as I grew up and started to learn more about what it took to be that, and then also the bad news that they have to give families sometimes, as an empath, I couldn't do that. I felt like, this is maybe not what I want to do. So I said, what can I do that'll, spark some same interest and still be good for the world? And I fell in love with business law and torts, of all things.
Wow.
And I was in debate class, and I just was really good at debating and getting people to see my point. And I said, maybe I should be a lawyer. And I said, okay, but I like all this creative stuff. So how does that fit together? So I said, entertainment law. Maybe that's what I should do. So when I was actually at Hampton, my major was political science, because I wanted to study that and then go into law school for entertainment law. They had a day where they had us dressed in suits, and the law school came to teach us about what we were going to do. And I said, no, this ain't it.
This ain't it.
This is not it. So I wouldn't say I was depressed, but I was really like down, because I thought I had everything planned out and it just was unraveling. So I was sitting in class, and I shouldn't have been scrolling through a magazine, but I was. And it was YM magazine. And I'm dating myself because that's a really old magazine.
Okay, that's all right. It's all right.
And in it, the editor actually said that she had the same path. She went to school for law and then found communications. And
Wow.
that's how she got into being the editor of YA Magazine. And I said, well, what is communications? And after reading through it, you're learning media and radio and film and screenwriting and public communications. And I said, you know what? This is me. This
Right.
is all of me, all the things. And from there, that's where the journey started into the creative path. Of course, you graduate from school, you say you have to take the job, and that takes you away from everything. Fun fact that not a lot of people know, I
Yeah.
actually got an internship at Sony BMG in New York.
Really?
Yes.
Really? Was this right after college? Right after
This
school?
is right after college.
Okay.
And I was walking on Fifth Ave in Madison, and I passed by. I was like, who is this? Who is this person walking by? And it was Spike Lee. No lie. Walked right past me as I sit here with his name on my shirt. But
Oh, what up,
every
Spike?
time I went in that building, the security guard looked at me. He said, you're supposed to be here. This is what you're supposed to be doing.
Wow.
But the talks of your loans are about to start, actualizing and you need to get a job, I got scared. And instead of jumping full force into what I wanted to do, I said, you know what, let me just take a job. And I'm grateful for all of the opportunities I've had, but it took 10 years to get me back to this spot, to
Wow.
where I had written a script in undergrad, and I thought I was going to go to Living Arts College here in North Carolina for film. And I
Wow.
walked into the audio booth and I saw the SSL and I got chills. And I said, oh, I need to do something with audio. And in the midst of it, learning Adobe, the entire suite, and falling in love with editing. I said, this is what I've been searching for all these years. It's here. It's finally here. And that's how we get here today.
Oh my goodness. You warmed my heart just now, because your energy, your enthusiasm, smile. If you guys are listening right now, there's a big smile on your screen or on the radio that you're listening to. Everything that you touched on, it just, there's so many different ways we could start the interview and talk to you about your path and your journey. But you touched on something really, really big and important there, and it's that identity and finding yourself and having that doubt to really go after it. Because we're talking about entertainment primarily, but we're talking about a path in entertainment where nothing is guaranteed, nothing is promised you, and you really do have to take a risk. And so you took a risk, obviously. You went to school undergrad and you were studying something that wasn't entertainment, but now you got that bug and you got that gift. What are the steps that obviously took you from there to where you are now?
It was a lot of mental steps, because
Yeah,
like you said, you have your trajectory like planned out and
yeah,
something that's supposed to be normal. And then this is an industry that a lot of people look to and they say, few and far between people actually make it. And
yeah,
so I had a lot of people around me that were like, are you sure that's what you're supposed to be doing? Maybe you should just stick with this customer service job or this recruiting job or this marketing job. And I said, no, I feel like this is where I'm being led to.
mhm,
And I saw all the bits and pieces from those jobs I had before that spoke to what I'm doing now. And I
yeah,
realized why I had to go through that to get to here and to be able to do what I'm doing now. But as far as the steps, the main one is just realizing that if it's really in your calling and if it's really for you, learn all you can, speak to as many people as you can, and network, and just stick to it. That's
yeah.
it. Just stick to it. There's so many times I almost gave up, but sticking to it is the most important thing you can do.
You mentioned something there. Not, you have that 10-year window where you're going in different routes, but you still have that calling and that bug. But now you say, all right, now's the time. Now I got to go. What do? You said reach out to people. Did you already know there were people you wanted to reach out to, even during that 10-year period? Were you still studying a little bit or watching a film and saying, did you look up people, research them? And even in that midst, because getting into the industry is hard when you start right into it, but then having that break, now it's like you almost feel like you have to play catch up. Did you ever feel like that?
Definitely. I felt a lot of the time that I wasn't worthy because I didn't go the traditional route of a film
Mhm.
school, or I didn't, follow that path traditionally for this role. And it actually started with a cruise. I was on a cruise early 2018 with a friend for a birthday, and I was reading a book. It says, "You're a badass and you know it." And it's back here somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I just started to find more of myself as I was reading that book. And I was in a job that was really just not it. And I
Hmm.
said, you know what? When I get back, it's time for me to take this leap. I didn't go to school and invest this money for me to just stick to this job.
Right.
And so I left, and then I attended Longleaf Film Festival here in North Carolina, actually with Tatiana M. Johnson.
Yeah.
And
Who is our producer of Posting Black and a founder of Made for More Entertainment, which is
yes,
sponsoring Posting Black.
yeah, and we all, along with my husband Troy, we all just cuddled up and was just like, you know what, this is what we should be doing. Why not just take the leap and do it? And ever since that moment, I went to an event that I normally wouldn't have gone to by myself, and I met Reverend Annie Ross, who is a local filmmaker and director here in North Carolina, and she had done a documentary about her losing her mom called Grief Journeys, Facing Grief, and she was moving that into the TV realm and making a docuseries. And just by sitting there talking to her at this event, she goes, "Hey, I would love for you to just come on set and just learn some things." And
Wow.
as I was learning, I was framing things for her and fixing the audio for her. Her editor quit in the midst of all of this.
Wow.
And she said, "You know what? I know you know how to cut some things. Would you be able to edit this?" And that was the first thing I ever got my hands on.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an amazing story. You know what's so funny, and obviously you've edited all the episodes for Posting Black, but you know how it's always that there's a name. There's always one name where you never forget it. You remember it. You say, "Oh, this one person led to that." And so from that job, was that like a short film? Was it like a piece, a promotional piece? What was that you ended up cutting for your first job?
It was several episodes of a docuseries that actually aired on the People's Channel here in the area, which I know
Wow.
you're familiar with.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was really, she was so enamored with what I was able to put together for her. I was able to put B-roll together, and they didn't have that from the previous person before. And just the way I was able to frame the story, and because these were such sensitive stories about people who had passed on, just
Mhm.
putting some honor on their name and telling their stories through the documentary series, it just made a really impactful piece for me, because it was more than just, I'm just cutting something for someone. Like, this is an actual like memoriam for this person.
Right.
So moving from there, um, Tatiana actually had a short film that she brought me in to help with as well.
Okay.
And in the midst of all this, I'm just learning so many things. And in the middle of it, I have a heart attack. Yeah.
Wait. Like an
Mhm.
actual, like some people say, "Oh, I almost had a heart attack." No, you actually had a literal heart attack.
An actual heart attack. And I found out after the fact that it was in the widowmaker artery, is what they call it. And the reason why they call it that, because people don't usually survive it. So yeah, yeah. So
Wow.
here I am after all these years, finally taking off and just doing these things and really loving it. And then it just halt.
Wow. So how long, what was the period like after that? Because that, industry takes on so many different lives of itself and when you're working in it, but to have a life altering situation that you had, was there any doubt to like, okay, I got to go back to just working full time and doing this, these not regular jobs, but these other jobs which are safe. I'll have my health benefits. I'll do all this. Was there any thought to that, or what made you want to say, no, I really need to keep going? Is that what kind of pushed you to say, no, I need to take advantage of this?
I would say it definitely pushed me. But in the beginning, I was telling people I'm okay. And I was telling people I was okay for them more so than for me.
Hmm.
And in that process, I had to really learn to sit in what happened. The fact that I was 32 and this actually happened to me. And in the middle of that, we went into debt, just figuring out how to live. My car got repossessed. Like, it was just horrible. And I'm having a mental breakdown in the middle of all of this, while at the same time still struggling to keep my obligations. And I
Hmm.
had to just take a minute and just realize, like, hey, this happened, but you know what? I'm still here. And I'm still
Hmm.
here for a reason. And I
Hmm.
could either go back to how I was living before that led to this, or move forward on the path in which I was put here to do. And I realized that my life was spared in the instance of going through it. I thought about my aunt who did not survive hers. I thought about my father who did not survive his. And even in that same week, my husband lost a colleague from a heart attack as well, unexpectedly. And I
Wow.
was at his funeral thinking about how that could have been mine and my family could have been there at mine, but I'm still here. And just that notion of I'm still here is what pushed me. You say, you know what? I have to take this leap. He did not spare me for me to go back to what I was doing before. So
Wow.
before I start preaching, That's what happened. And that's what led me to continue on and just for opened up network and communication from there. So
Yeah. So no, I mean, that's a powerful, powerful testimony, powerful story. And obviously I know many people be inspired by that. But now that inspiration turns into, okay, you're full throttle in trying to get into the industry. And so what is it like looking for work? Because you're based in North Carolina. What is it like wanting to pursue a career in the entertainment industry when not living in an entertainment hub like New York, or Atlanta has become, and obviously Los Angeles?
funny enough, because I'm from Jersey and New York was our backyard, like Jersey City and Manhattan are this close.
Right,
So if I wasn't doing it there, how is it that I'm doing it here in Raleigh, North Carolina? It's
right,
because the industry is everywhere now. The cloud is allowing us to work from anywhere. But what a lot of people don't know is that North Carolina is a hub for Hollywood and has been for a long time. Down in
wow,
Wilmington, we've had major movies and films filmed down here. We actually had an exhibit at the museum that showed it was Color Purple, Iron Man,
hmm,
Dawson's Creek, a whole
right,
Sleepy Hollows, whole bunch of stuff before politics kind of messed up the filming bills down here.
yeah,
But there are still people here that are creating these stories. There are still studios and schools that are teaching these things. So I think it feels good to be in a smaller pond because
okay.
yeah, you get to form relationships that you may not have been able to if you were in those other areas where everyone is trying to do the same thing.
I get you. I get you. I get you. That makes sense. That makes perfect sense. And now in terms of editing, there's so many things that people want to get into in terms of, they say, oh, film or TV, or there's documentary. Yeah, obviously there's even sports and cutting quickly and live TV versus something that's taped. Was there anything in particular when it comes to post-production and editing that piqued your interest more so than the other?
I would say documentary. I'm a big
Okay.
nerd for documentaries. And also TV. I have a heart for that too.
Okay.
Growing up watching a lot of it, a lot of network TV because we didn't have cable,
Hmm.
and just really understanding the stories and
Hmm.
how they came about. I just, I don't know, something about just watching how that comes together and
Hmm.
having that control behind the scenes to finally do that. Going from writing my pieces to then thinking of how can I actually make this real and
Right.
not knowing how to do that, but then learning the tools to actually do that. And you're
Hmm.
storytelling, but you're doing it in a different way.
Right.
That's what I love so much about editing. And then also zooming in all the way onto the transient and cutting it at these little points. I'm a nerd like that, but I just love it so much. And
Yeah.
that really is what drives me to do this. Like film, obviously, I have a heart for all of those things, but particularly for documentary and for TV.
Yeah, yeah. Now you have that heart for it, and you mentioned some of the different ways you're cutting and looking for things in particular, and that you are a storyteller yourself. What type of opportunities are coming to you? Are you seeking, by being in North Carolina? Are you seeking for those documentaries for local filmmakers? Are you seeking to be outsourced and freelance from projects in a different state or different country for that purpose? Because we talk to so many people who are at various levels in their career, but speaking again with you coming from a different perspective, what is it like trying to navigate that industry down there on your own to build those relationships and get those particular projects that speak to you?
I am very grateful to be a part of a collective of creatives down here. We call
Okay.
ourselves a Talented 10th. And together we have been able to, within each other and within the people we've known, to really network and broaden our job opportunities and opportunities that
Mhm.
we have because of that. Um, just really, the most important thing is just talking to people, telling them, you know what, I'll go back to this. We went to, it was a talk, and it was a VP of MapQuest at the time, or the former VP of MapQuest.
Okay.
And he said, when we're younger, we tend to go down the street and say, "Hey, Timmy, I'm about to build this tree house. Do you have some wood?" He's like, "Yeah." Okay. Then we go down the street further, say, "Neil, do you have these nails that we need for this tree house?" And then you keep going and you get everything that you need. But when you get older, you get taught that you're supposed to keep these things to yourself, keep everything on the low because not everybody's in your corner and there's
Mhm.
competition. But then where does that leave you? When you're trying to build something, you try to do it by yourself. And sometimes, yeah, you can build it, but then the wood falls off because you didn't nail it correctly because you didn't know how to. when you could have went down the street and got Neil to put it in for you. So learning that from him, someone who's at the top where he is within his company, was really important and influential in me using it for this industry. I could probably try to do it all by myself, but it's not smart to do that. There is someone else who may know how to do it better or can guide me in a different way than I know.
Got you. You talked about that community. You mentioned these people that you kind of have had advice shared from, but getting into the industry, again, a lot of people, even working in Los Angeles, they talk about, I don't really see anybody that looks like me. Was there anybody in that stood out to you that you were able to, if you couldn't reach out to them directly, were you able to kind of pick up on the traits, their work ethic or something about their project? Was there a film that stood out to you? You said, I like the way that was cut. Once you started editing and knowing this is what you wanted to do, was there anything that stood out to you that you said you kind of model your work ethic after, or your type of projects after? Because that's
cut. I gotta think about that.
No, don't cut. Ain't no cut. That was funny. We're going to keep going, because the reason why I asked that, and everybody's laughing, this is funny, but the reason why I asked that is because you always hear sometimes from actors, they say, oh, this person stood out to me. Oh, I really like their work. Or, I like this director. I like the vision that they paint. And for editors, sometimes it may not be another editor. You may watch a show and really like the way it connects with you and not realize that's because there's a Black editor behind it, or somebody who had a similar experience to you. So that's why I asked that question more.
Yeah.
So. Is there anything?
It's funny because my answer might be a little bit different than what you think.
Okay, no worries.
So I watch a lot of international television. I started by discovering Bollywood, and I was like, what is this? And then discovering Nollywood, which is in its own lane by itself. And most recently, the Hallyu, which is the Korean cinema. And I fell in love with Korean dramas and how they tell stories. And just it's almost like it's cinematic, like it's a film, but they break it into these episodes for a drama. And I was like, how can we do this everywhere? Like, how can we bring this to Nollywood? How can we bring this here? Like, how can this happen? And that watching how they tell stories really influenced how I thought about telling these stories. And it's funny because it's almost like its own lane that does not exist. Because me as a Black woman, as an editor in the States, is watching a completely different market, but wanting to learn and take from that to bring it to what I'm doing.
I see. Well, speaking of what you're doing, and that's a great segue that you just mentioned there. Speaking of what you're doing, you have been the editor of Post in Black, and obviously we've had our first season. This is our second season. I'll ask you two questions geared towards Post in Black. First off, what has it been like for you editing these projects and learning from all the guests? First off, what you've been hearing them say. What has it been like for you?
It's been surreal. First, I want to thank you and the whole entire team for having this opportunity, because you've allowed me to be in a space that I wasn't sure I'd be allowed to be in myself. I can go back to when I was in school at Living Arts just for audio, and then also learning, the film editing. I was the only Black female in the class at the time.
Yeah.
And that's intimidating in and of itself. And there were so many times where I wanted to give up, and I was like, I can't do this. While I'm working full time, I'm also taking these classes, and my mental game was just like, no, this is not for you. Just give up, just give up, just give up. And I said, no, I can't. I'm doing this for a reason. And so to be able to now translate that to Post in Black and to edit the people who I've been inspired by without even knowing that these were the people that I was inspired by watching their pieces, is just full circle for me. And it just inspires me even more to one day be that person for somebody else.
Yeah. And I guess in that vein, what goes into it for you to edit something like Post in Black? Because it's like you're editing editors. You know what I mean?
Yes.
What is your process for editing this show and wanting to really encompass the fullness of what people are saying and show and highlight them without taking away? Like, you want to show your creative style and your flow to the programming, but what has that been like for you behind the scenes?
It's really just listening to what they're saying and the advice and information that they're giving, and then following that flow with how I'm cutting the scenes and how I'm interjecting the motion graphics and complementing what they're saying and how they're saying it instead of just displaying it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
That's my thought process when doing this. I don't want to take away from the information that they're giving, and I want to make sure that they're presented in the best way possible. So that's what I'm really thinking about and during that process of adding and taking away.
Right. No, that makes sense. And you like a compliment. I like that. It's like it's the perfect. A compliment is something that's a good addition. That's not too much, and it makes everything sit there. And it's almost to the point where you compliment it so well that people don't even know that somebody did that. They're just like, oh, that's expected, and that's really awesome. In terms of you and your career, and obviously you talked about the window of getting started, the life experience with the heart attack, the transition with all the things you've been through, and then jumping into it now, and now being the editor for Post and Black, it seems like you're going up. Your trajectory is going up. Where do you see yourself going, and where would you like to see yourself going in the next few years in terms of your career as it relates to post-production, editing, and the like?
It's
No, I
nice
know.
to think about.
Yeah, it's nice to think. No, I mean, it could be something like I'm a person that I throw the stuff out there. So I throw it out there, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, you could say, I don't know, and that's a perfectly fine answer. It's just, we want to pick your brain to find out.
I would love to be known as someone who reached back and provided opportunity for the next. I
Okay.
would love to also create these stories in a way that leaves room in an editor's bay for others to come in as well.
Right.
Also, when I talk about the international stories, I would love to create that lane myself.
Yeah.
These are the things that I'm thinking about when I'm, trying to do something new. But that little black girl that's sitting there wondering if she can do this, hey, yes, you can. Yes, you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
So that's my goal.
It's definitely something where you touch on being not just a black person, but a black woman. And then for the people that are watching you, the people that are coming behind us are looking to interviews like this, to projects that we created, projects that we're on, for that inspiration to say, hey, I can do it. You know what I mean? Shows like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, even Family Matters for me, watching someone like Sherman Hemsley on Amen and all these other shows.
Yes.
It was just one of those things where I liked his walk, the way he did,
Mm-hmm.
the way he started in, and it stuck to me. But it was something that you like, oh, that's like my uncle. You see yourself in those positions, and somebody seeing you in a position of working in post-production is going to say, hey, I can do that.
And if I may add, because
Yes,
you did ask this
please.
earlier, and one of the people that did inspire me here, Ava DuVernay.
Yeah.
Reading about her story and how she did not pick up the camera and start doing what she was doing until she was in her 30s.
Yeah.
And here I am in my 30s in school thinking that, is this possible for me to do this? That was inspirational for me to say, hey, yes, you can, because look at where she is now. You can move along the way you need to get there too. So I also want to, in addition of providing opportunities for others, I also want to show like, hey, it's okay if you did not go the traditional route. It's okay if you didn't graduate from that top film school. It's okay if you don't have all these connections. You can still do it too.
Yeah, you definitely can. And I think the future is just bright for you moving forward. Do you have any aspirations to move to Los Angeles to pursue, or are you saying, no, I'm staying put, but the work can come to me?
I mean, I may have a flat there or something. You never know. Open house,
Okay.
something.
Okay.
Speak it to
Yeah,
exist.
speak it. And I guess I've obviously asked you about what the future looks like for you. What do you feel like the industry looks like moving forward for people of color, for Black people in general? Because, outlets like Post and Black, we're not trying, we are highlighting people behind the scenes. But what do you see for the industry moving forward from an insider's perspective?
I see just in the last year of what COVID has done to the industry in and of itself, and how more people who may not have been able to be in the rooms are now in the rooms and directing the rooms.
Yeah.
I see us moving forward in a very great way.
In a very great way. Great way. Is there any advice that you would give to somebody who your younger self, if you were to see 21-year-old you in a on a college campus at a dorm, what would you say to her in her pursuit of anything in life?
I would tell her that she is beautiful, that she is loved, and that everything will be okay.
Everything would be okay. Okay. I think that is a perfect segue to end, and just want to say thank you for being on Post in Black. Obviously, you're connected to us in a variety of ways, but this is sort of a way for us to get to know people behind the scenes, what they're working on, and know more about you as a person. And I think when a director or somebody's bringing somebody onto a project, you want to make sure the personalities fit. You want to make sure there's a cohesiveness in the unit. And I believe when somebody's watching this, they say, you know what, there's something precious about PreShus. Was that too corny?
My entire life, it's fine.
I know. But seriously, there's something special about you and what you do, and it has been a game changer to our company Made for More and the project that we're doing with Post in Black. So thank you for everything, and we're so excited for what your future is going to bring. Is there anything that you're working on outside of Post in Black at the moment that we could stay up to date on or stay current with, or where can we follow you at?
There are lots of things that are happening. What
All
I
right,
can
all right.
mention.
Yeah.
If you want to stay up to date on everything happening, you can follow me on Instagram at the PreShus One. See what I did there? I am also co-CEO of a production company called Sutchilee Productions, which also helps Post in Black as well.
Yes.
So we have a lot of our projects on there that people can take a look at, as well as the documentary that you mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, no, thank you so much, PreShus. We truly appreciate you for your time. Everyone, we thank you again for tuning into another episode of Post in Black. This was more of a behind the scenes, but our very own PreShus Lee. Please stay tuned for new episodes every other week. Make sure you follow us and subscribe to us at Made for More Entertainment. And we cannot wait to see you again on the next episode of Post in Black.